Lesson 6 of Chapter 1, Geometry. Our topic today is basic construction, so make sure you have a compass and a ruler handy today. You're going to need both of those. Our objective today is to make basic constructions using a straight edge and a compass. And so, if we look at this first problem to think about, it says draw angle FGH. Fold your paper so that GH lies on top of GF. Unfold the paper, label point J on the fold line in the interior of angle FGH. How is GJ related to angle FGH? How do you know? So, if you're thinking about where that J should have been drawn, here's your paper folded in half. That J should have been drawn somewhere right here. Alright, that's where our J is. And so what really you created another ray. And this ray is the angle bisector of angle FGH. And so sometimes we can use what we call patty paper or things like that to make constructions. However, today we're going to talk about how to do these constructions and how to find angle bisectors and midpoints using a compass and a straight edge. And so, essential standing, you can use special geometric tools to make a figure that is congruent to an original figure without measuring. This method is more accurate than sketching and drawing. And so, a straight edge is a ruler with no markings on it. It can be the edge of a paper. It can just be like just something that is a straight line that you could trace and you'd have a straight line. A compass is a geometric tool used to draw circles and parts of circles called arcs. And a construction is a geometric figure drawn using a straight edge and a compass. So, our first thing we need to do is we need to construct congruent segments. And so we have this line segment over here, AB. Alright, line segment AB. And we need to construct a segment CD so that CD is congruent to AB. And so we can follow these steps that I have listed here to make this CD segment. So the first thing we need to do is we need to draw a ray with an endpoint C. So here is my ray. Need to make that a little bit longer. There we go. Here's my ray, and we're going to label that endpoint C. All right. So then we're going to take our compass, and my compass looks a little bit different than yours. I got to go grab it from the top of the screen. There we go. All right. So my compass looks a little different than yours because I'm doing this on the computer. But we're going to take that compass and we're going to open it up so that it is the length of segment AB. So we take it, we line up that gray point there, yep, and we line up the pencil over on point B. And so then with that same compass setting, so we're going to keep that compass how it is. If you have a compass where you can tighten it so that you don't accidentally move it like this while you're moving it across your paper, I would do that now. So then you take your compass and you drag it and you move it over so that it's lined up on point C. And then on this ray C, we draw a little line, a little arc. So see how we have the arc drawn? We can now move our compass out of the way. And we can put a point there. We're going to put the point D right there. Alright, so that is point D. And what we actually just made a construction. And this construction is from the point C to the point D. So I'm going to draw that in here. From point C to point D. And it's the same length as the segment of the line segment AB. And so it's really just as simple as that. So that's our first construction that we made today. And so what I'd like you to do now is you're going to use a straight edge and a compass to draw. You're first going to use a straight edge to draw a line segment XY, and then you're going to construct RS, another line segment, so that RS is 2 times greater than XY. And so you can pause the video here and make that now. Alright, and so you can see I made my line segment XY, and then what I did was I took my compass and I lined it up on there, so it was lined up on X and lined up on Y. And then I drew, so I knew how long that segment was using a compass. And then I took and I drew a ray R, and so I drew that out, but I put a big dot there. And so I took that measurement and I copied it down onto the ray. And then since it needs to be twice as big as the XY, I did that again. I moved my compass down and copied it down. And then I put a dot where where the arc and the ray intersected. And so then that line that's connected between them, this right here, is my line segment from here to here. And so that's how you make that construction. Hopefully you figured that out. And so here now, we've got another construction we're going to make, so let's get a compass out. It says, given angle A, construct an angle S so that it is congruent to angle A. So the first step we're going to do is, once again, we're going to draw a ray with an endpoint S. So here's my ray. I'm going to label that endpoint S. Alright, and so we take our compass and we line it up on the point on vertex A. So there's my vertex. And I'm going to just bring it out a little ways and then just draw an arc. What I'm going to do with that arc now is I'm going to label those 2 points of intersection as B and C. So now I can use points B and C to help me. And so what I do now is I take that compass with the same setting it had. So remember, if you might have an ability to lock that compass, do that. And so I take it and I bring it down, line it up on S, and I draw that same arc right here on my paper. All right. And so now I have a point where that arc intersects my ray right there, and we're going to label that point R. And so what I do now is I take my compass, I move it back over again to my original angle, and I go and I measure the distance from angle C to angle B. And so you get that all lined up. And it's really important to be accurate while you're doing this. There we go. And now I put my compass on point R, and I draw a little arc so that it intersects the arc I drew. Oh, it's a little thick for my line. And you draw that arc so that it intersects with this arc that we've already drawn, right like that. So now you can move your compass out of the way, and you take a straight edge, and you go from point S, and you go through that intersection point that is there on your graph, right like that. Label that point T, and now we have an arc that is the same, or an angle that is congruent to angle ABC. It's as simple as that. So let's go through the steps. We drew a ray with an endpoint S, that was right here. With the compass on vertex A, we drew an arc that intersects A at B and C, and so we labeled those points B and C. With the same compass setting, I then drew an arc that went through ray ray S, and then went up a ways. And then I measured the distance between point C and B on angle A, and I measured that, drew a little arc through this first arc I had drawn, connect my dots, and I now have a ray. And now I have 2 rays, which makes an angle. So what I'm going to have you do now is you're going to construct angle F so that it's twice as big as angle B. And so it's a similar process, you're just going to do it twice. And so pause the video here and take the time. And so here is my finished product. You can see I did the same process to make it, if I had connected from F to this little arc right here, I would have had an angle that was the same size as angle B, but then I just lined up my protractor here again, just like this, and then I drew that second arc, so I have double of the original angle, and now my angle F is twice the size of angle B. Alright, and so here we've got some notes we need to take. Perpendicular lines are 2 lines that intersect to form right angles. And so perpendicular lines, basically they make a T, and we even notate that in our in math notation as a T. And so if you look at this diagram at the right, we have all these right angles going on over here. And so if we look at that, well, since all 4 of these angles in here are right angles, we can say that AB and CD are perpendicular, and we can say that CD is perpendicular to AB. Alright, and so a perpendicular bisector of a segment is a line segment or ray that is perpendicular to the segment at its midpoint. So it's perpendicular and it bisects the line segment. And so in this diagram over here, we have a line we have a line segment GH that's drawn right here, and then we have this perpendicular bisector EF, and it is perpendicular. It makes a right angle with a line, and it's also the bisector because we have these two congruent sides. So we're going to actually learn how to create those. And so here we're going to be constructing the perpendicular bisector of this line segment. And so the way we do that is we get out our handy dandy compass again. We take our compass and we line it up in point A. And then we're going to take this, our arm of our compass, and we're going to bring it out so it's past halfway, past where you think halfway on AB would be. And then we're going to take it and we're going to draw a nice big arc, just like that. And then we're going to do the same thing over here on B. Then we're going to draw a nice big arc. So these arcs intersect in two spots. Your arcs should intersect in two spots. And we know that 2 points make a line. And so actually what we can do now is we can connect these two intersection points, so right here and right here, with a line. And by connecting these 2 points with a line, we just created the perpendicular bisector for this line segment. So if we take away our arcs that we drew, I delete that. Oh, that's not what we wanted. There we go. Delete that. Let's pause. Problem. There you go. If I delete this arc that I drew, I now know that these two sides are perpendicular. This line segment is bisected, so I can mark that. I also know that this is a right angle because I made the perpendicular bisector, and it's as simple as that. And so what you're going to do now is you're going to construct a line segment ST, and you're going to construct its perpendicular bisector. So pause the video here and take care of that. I even labeled the points of intersection with those arcs as M and N. I marked the two sides are they are congruent with my congruent symbols, and this is a right angle. And so at this point, if you made your arcs light enough, you can actually delete them or erase them in your case, and then you can see your drawing a little bit clearer. And there you go. Now you made your own perpendicular bisector. So let's review the steps real fast. Step 1, put the compass point on one of the endpoints of your line. Be sure that the opening is greater than half of your line segment, and make a long arc. Step 2, do the same. Make the same arc with your other endpoint of your line. Label the points where the two arcs intersect as X and Y, or as whatever two you want, and then draw that line. Use your straight edge to draw that line between those 2 points, and label the point of intersection as the midpoint, or you can draw on your 2 hash marks, your congruent symbols, and your right angle. It's as simple as that. So our last slide, we're going to learn how to construct an angle bisector. So we have an angle, and we need to construct a ray AD, which is the bisector of angle A. So the first thing we do, we get out our compass once again. And we take our compass and we're going to line it up on our point A. We're going to extend it out again, and we're going to draw an arc that intersects A on both sides, just like we did before, just like that. And so we're going to label those points now as B and C. So here I have B, and here I have C. So what we do now is we take that compass, we're going to put it on point B, or point C, and we're going to think about what would be a little bit more than half of the distance between B and C. So that looks like it'd be a little bit more than half. And we're actually going to trace that arc now. We're going to trace it nice and long. And we're going to keep our compass settings the same, and we're going to do the same thing over on B. So we're going to trace it so that it intersects. There we go. And so now we see those 2 points of intersection, and we're going to draw a line, or a ray, that goes through A and goes through those 2 points of intersection. And this ray that we just drew should be our angle bisector. And so it's as simple as that. We're going to label we're going to label this ray with a D so that we know that ray AD bisects angle ABC. Erase all of our arcs that we drew. There we go. We can erase all of our arcs that we've drawn. And we can even mark that these are the same. And so I'm going to put a little arc here and a little arc here, saying that these two angles are the same measure. And there we go. So let's review the steps. First, we put the compass on the vertex A. We draw an arc that intersects the sides of A. We label those 2 points at intersection B and C. We put so those points were here. Here was C, and here was B, and here was our D at the end. We put the compass point on C, and we drew an arc that was passed halfway between B and C. Then we did the same thing with B, and then we drew this ray with our straight edge that intersect them and labeled a point on there as D. And so what you're going to do is you're going to draw an obtuse angle XYZ, and you're going to construct its bisector YP. So pause the video now and do that. Okay, now you can see my construction. I first made an angle Y, and then I marked out where Z and X were so they were equal distance apart. Then I measured the distance between X and Z. Then I just kind of made my compass go a little bit past the halfway distance between X and Z, and so then I drew those arcs in, and you can see my first arc, or you can see my two arcs that I drew. And my points of intersection, one went beyond the angle down here, and one went above the angle right here, so I make sure those are lined up. And then what you can do is you can kind of erase the line here. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag this line up right through there. And there we go. Now we have my angle bisector. And so this is the end of lesson 6 of chapter 1 of geometry.